What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Today we are getting the Luna's Howl back, going over the god rolls for you guys. Definitely PvP. This thing is a laser beam. It feels like it is super steady. That precision frame, magnificent Howl is back. Not as good as it was just like Master of Arms, but you can still get that 2-tap with Magnificent Howl going. But we're gonna have a couple different options for y'all for PvP as well, so let us get right into it, y'all, with this banging weapon. First off, we got our origin trait, the Indomitability. So this is going to help us to get our grenade or our melee back depending on the subclass we are on with those final blows. So you can see, depending on your subclass, light gives us our grenade, dark gives us subclass. Definitely more of a PvE origin trait, but it can help, especially on something like a trip mine hunter, something like that. But a very good origin trait just in general. Now for the PvP side of things, got the quick access sling on this to give us a 10% decrease in that animation for swapping this thing out. Basically just increases our handling on this weapon. If you are having some trouble firing it, you could go with target adjuster or that counterbalance stock, but I like quick access personally from my gameplay. For our masterwork, we're definitely building this thing out for range, especially since it is a 140. Want it to compete with those pulses and 120s with the meta inside of PvP at the moment, so we gave it that nice 10 masterwork on the range side. As for barrels, got two choices for you. Go with hammer forged rifling, gives us the highest in our range at +10. We are at 61 with this, since the stability, like I said, feels super good with that precision frame. 95 in the recoil direction already, so we want that range as high as we can get it. Second option is the small bore stability range at +7, so we only lose 3 in the range, but it does take us down to 58, but we're up to 64 in stability instead of 57. So if you're having trouble keeping it under control in PvP, go with this, but I would go with hammer forged over small bore. Moving on to our magazines right here, we got our range and stability procced with ricochet rounds, absolutely juicing us out with the range and stability on this bad boy, giving us that laser beam potential. Absolutely think this is the perk to go for. Your second option right here is high cal rounds. It gives us +5 to range, but the flinch for players varies based on damage and weapon archetype, so flinch for the ranges between 5 and 10%. So flinch in Crucible is definitely a little tricky sometimes, so high cal is definitely a nice thing to go with, but love ricochet way more. Third and fourth column, we got a couple different options, 3 for each of these, so none in specific order, but I will tell you what I think is my favorite. Eye of the Storm is definitely up there, fighting for the first slot between this and Slide Shot. But Eye of the Storm, we get that accuracy up as well as handling as our health gets lower, so we get that 30 to handling and that nice decrease in our accuracy cones, so it gives us that nice increase in accuracy, so there's way less weapon spread, if you will, when you are shooting. So I do really like Eye of the Storm on a lot of my hand cannons, specifically stuff like that, because it does feel very nice with that accuracy proccing. But I do also like our second choice here. Second choice, which I think I'm personally going for my god roll, is the Slide Shot right here. Sliding partially refills the magazine, temporarily gives us a boost in range and stability. So you can see we get +20 to range and stability for 2.5 seconds after this thing is procced. So that is so crazy that we get that much range and stability, giving us up into the mid 80s for both of those, which is just absolutely nasty. Like I said, it feels so consistent, like there is no bounce on this thing. Last but not least, heal clip reloading shortly after dealing final blows gives us that cure to us and nearby allies. This is definitely feels better on something like an auto rifle and an SMG, but it is a viable option, especially if you get one of them shiny weapons here for the Luna's Howl and you have 2 different perks like Slide Shot, heal clip, something like that. You can go back and forth and kind of play with it depending on how your gameplay is and how you're playing that day something. So it is a lot of different options with those three. Now, what y'all have been waiting for, Magnificent Howl. The number of precision final blows before reloading affects the total number of rounds granted with that increased range and damage. Precision final blows with Magnificent Howl extends the effect for additional rounds. So we need 2 precision final blows to be able to get that 2-tap in the Crucible, and it's hitting for a 134 in the head when we get those 2 defeats of Magnificent Howl procced before we shoot, and it is just dapping Guardians up. Now, it can be a little bit hard to proc, especially in something like 3s, but when you get those 2 defeats on those Guardians in like competitive trials, and then you use that reload and 2-tap the last Guardian, they are gonna be so upset. So it is definitely a little bit of a volatile trait, if that makes sense, because it could go either way. If you're not getting those precision shots, this isn't gonna proc, which our other 2 perks definitely feel a little bit better in my personal opinion. I'm actually gonna give you 3-4 total. Second option for PvP, we got kill clip. Reloading after kills grants us that increased damage, so it's 25% damage for 5 seconds. So it is a nice little juice on those enemies, but it won't 2-tap completely, so it's still a 3-tap, but kill clip does still very good, and it is a good option to pair with something like Eye of the Storm, or heal clip with kill clip is a fun little combination. On to what I think is going to be my god roll is opening shot, and then Magnificent Howl is what I'm going for as my second option, with the improved accuracy and range on opening shot of the attack. With opening shot here, it is 20 to aim assist, 25 to range. So when we got this procced plus slide shot, it is at basically 100 range on this thing, so it is absolutely disgusting and definitely competes with the 120s in my personal opinion with how I was playing with it. So I personally am gonna go with opening shot as my number 1. Last option for precision instrument in the 4th column, we got sustained precision damage, increases precision damage. So it is an interesting little perk we got right here. Direct hits with the weapon grant us that stacking precision instrument, so max stacks of 6, which you can see right there. It maxes out at that 25% damage increase. So this you don't even have to get kills with, you just got to do damage on enemies with it. But it is if you miss a shot, it will remove all of these stacks, so that does suck a little bit, especially for people who aren't hitting every single shot consistently. But I do really like precision as an option, but I think the best for everybody, or the god roll overall, is definitely that slide shot opening shot. This thing is nasty, giving it a 4.9 inside of the Crucible because it is a 140 that competes hard with those 120s. Now when we move on to the PvE side of things, nothing too crazy with this weapon in my opinion. Definitely got better weapons in this category, but we are gonna go with boss spec for our weapon mod, giving us that nice 8% increase to those mini bosses and bosses. Again, I'm going with the range masterwork because this thing feels super solid, still has a very good reload as a 140, so I wanted to be able to reach out and hit some of those farther enemies inside of the PvE realm with this as well, those snipers, etc. So I went with the range masterwork. Personally, really only one option in my opinion in this category right here, with small bore giving you that range and stability, just feels the best inside of the PvE realm. You could go with hammer forged if you want for that extra 3 in range, but I don't think it's worth it inside of the PvE realm. Magazines, 2 different options. Appended mag is my number 1, so it increases that magazine by a few shots. Just feels the best inside of the PvE realm. Your second option is armor piercing rounds, gives us that 5% increased damage against PvE combatant shields, and they over penetrate enemies once. Gives us +5 to range as well, so it is a very good option as well for the magazines, but I like appended more. PvE side of thing, we got two options in this third column. First off is heal clip reloading, gives us that cure for us and nearby allies. Very, very nice little bit of healing for you, especially when you pair it with incandescent in the fourth column, which I will go over. But we do have, like I said, a lot better solar hand cannons in my personal opinion. We got the Apocalypse integration and also Zawuli's Bane, both legendary versions. So it is a third, fourth, maybe in my category for legendary options, but it has heal clip, so I do love this perk. Second option is subsistence. Right here we get that refill on defeats with the weapon, so we get about 10% of the magazine back on those defeats, so it just keeps us up a little bit longer with being able to shoot, especially with some of those perks in the fourth column for damage, incandescent like that. Spreading Scorch around subsistence is a very good option, so kind of a coin toss between subsistence and heal clip for me. Whatever you are going into kind of depends on that situation, as well as your gameplay, game style, healing, or if you're going for more of that ad clear potential. So definitely a personal preference in that third column. Fourth column, first option, incandescent. I think this is personally my favorite with the traits that we have on it and the solar synergy of it, especially if we pair it with something like heal clip or that subsistence. Feels very, very good. But we spread that Scorch, of course, 30 Scorch stacks, 40 with the Ember of Ashes on, and it deals some damage. So incandescent has the best potential for both that odd clear as well as a little extra damage. Second option is the Desperate Measures Final Blows with the weapon grant bonus damage. Melee and grenade final blows grant a larger damage bonus that can stack, so you can see what kind of different percentages that we get for each of the weapon kills. 10% increase grenade and melee, we get 20% increase. Scoring another one of those grenade or melee stacks it up to a 30% increase, so it's nice. Plus we can refill the buff with those defeats, so Desperate Measures also a very, very good option, especially in my opinion pairs way, way better with subsistence instead of heal clip. So Desperate Measures with subsistence would be a very good option, but I think I like the heal clip with incandescent the most with this. But like I said, this thing is definitely a PvP weapon. Overall, gave it a 4.9 for the PvP side of things. PvE, like I said, falls back to maybe top 5 hand cannons for the solar only side of things. We obviously have other hand cannons, Arc, Void, etc., but I think I would give it probably a 4, maybe 3.8 out of 5 for the PvE side of things, especially since of that origin trait that we have with Indomitability will help us a little bit with that grenade and ability spam depending on our subclass. So definitely a very good weapon. Feels good to have this back in the rotation. It is a wild feeling to have some of these brave weapons back, so y'all get to grinding out those onslaughts. We got lots of builds here on the channel, so you can make sure to look those up. Appreciate all the support lately with the liking and the subscribing to the channel. Helps me out a bunch, also helps out the channel a lot, so don't be afraid to slap that bell and hit that subscribe button to continue getting notifications for these builds, god rolls, etc. So again, I appreciate all you guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.